Hello everyone and welcome back to another Hearthstone budget deck video. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. I had both days off and I spent it thoroughly enjoying myself. Much hedonism was had. But we're back and we're going to be playing some budget decks today. Before we get into things, as always we have our criteria. So with this budget deck series we don't set an arbitrary dust limit. Instead, what we want to do is focus on the core of a deck, which might be 4 to 6 rares, and we want to make sure that we've got a reasonable upgrade path so that there is some, high tier deck out there. We can start with the core of it, the basics of it, and then if you want to invest more dust, you can go for that, and at the end of the day, you will have a hopefully one of the higher tier decks or a high performing deck that you can use on the ladder. That last point there, we're not really going to focus on too much, as in focusing on cards that aren't rotating, because plenty of the cards at the moment will have heaps of longevity, as we won't see a rotation for quite a while. Alright, now, I was thinking of doing Paladin today, but I kind of had a bit of a kick in the rear when I woke up today, and I wanted to do Rogue, because Rogue is actually one of the tougher ones, one that we've struggled with in the past. I figured I was up for the task, so we'd smash Rogue out today. So unfortunately, other than Quest Rogue, a lot of the Rogue decks out there don't have the best performance at the moment. But one of the ones that's just slightly off the pace is Tempo Rogue, and Tempo Rogue's almost always had a place in the meta, and is at various points can be quite good if certain decks are appearing quite often on the ladder. So it's still a good one. Here's a couple of the decks that I've spotted. I pulled all of these from HS Replays. So this is a very aggressive version of Tempo Rogue. The whole idea behind Tempo Rogue is we want to control the board. We want very early on. We want to clear out our opponent's minions, particularly with our hero power. It means clearing off their early minions is quite easy. And we're going to use that early game advantage to lead into killing our opponents, hopefully, in that mid game to like early late game. As you can see, the curve simply stops at 5 here, and 5 is like Vile Spine, which is usually a way to remove the final blockers, and Leroy, which is a finishing blow. So we're doing a lot of stuff in that kind of turn 2, 3, 4, kind of 3, 4, 5 area, and we're hopefully gonna, like I said, use that advantage to kill our opponents before they can come back with more powerful cards. Every Tempo Rogue deck I saw was playing Kaliseth, so that's obviously something we can't do, because Kaliseth is a legendary. However, I would say that if there's any one legendary you should craft for this deck, it's probably Kaliseth, though also Leroy's in the base set, so you'll get more mileage out of Leroy, but two extremely good legendaries worth crafting. As we're trying to control the early game, we have a lot of fantastic 1-drops, Argent Squire, Firefly, Glacial Shard, and South Sea Deckhand. This is the deck that was playing the most 1-drops, but every list I saw played at least 2, and all of them played Firefly. So Firefly, Glacial Shard, or Firefly, South Sea Deckhand, the most common combinations. We have Backstabs as well for the early game control. Now, Shadow Step here is fantastic in this deck because we have things like Kaliseth, Blink Fox, resetting of Van Cleef, getting more Elven Minstrel draws, more Saronite Chain Gang tokens, and murdering them with Leroy and Vilespine. So Shadow Step's really good in this deck. I don't know how well it's going to go in our deck, considering a lot of the cards that I just mentioned we can't play. So that's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on, because maybe Shadow Step's not the greatest card to run in a budget build. Moving on, we have Kaliseth. Going into our 3s, we have Henchclan Thug and SI7. Henchclan Thug, phenomenal if we're attacking every turn. It's essentially a Gruul. He's going to grow each turn. He's almost always going to be a 3-drop 4/4 at the very least. And if our opponent doesn't deal anything, he's going to run away with the game. SI7 is hopefully going to remove a threat, even through a taunt as well, which is important because there's a lot of Tar Creepers around. And provides a 3/3 body to get some work done later. Minstrel helps us not run out of gas. And probably the only reason I'd keep the Shadow Step in here, because we will definitely be running Minstrels. And the one-off Spellbreaker to help remove some taunts. Now, there was a slower version that I saw, which only had the two 1-drops here, and instead plays, as we mentioned before, the Tar Creepers. It's got a Sonya Shadow Dance in here, and plays a bit more of a late game with 2 Scale Banes. So cutting some of those early drops for the later drops, maybe trying to outmuscle Aggro Paladin, these types of decks. But another consideration for us, do we play some amount of late game, or do we cut the early game, or do we slice it down the middle? So here's what I've come up with the Tempo Rogue core. I have included the Shadow Steps because the Shadow Steps were in every single deck that we saw, but we might want to cut those at the end. So this was the most common combination of 1-drops, and these are our most powerful. These are our most powerful commons we have access to. The rares I've chosen to include are the SI7s and the Elven Minstrel. Elven Minstrel actually had one of the, next to Kaliseth in a lot of these decks, has one of the highest played win rates around. So I'm looking forward to hopefully doing some work with these Minstrels. A lot of these things are pretty self-explanatory. But here's what I've come up with the final list. So I've chosen to include 6 1-drops. So not 8 or not 4. I kind of, like I said, cutting it in the middle with the Fireflies, Glacial Shards, and South Sea deckhands. We can't include Kaliseth, so we have got some 2-drops in here. I've gone with Direwolf Alpha. I did and ah about other 2-drops. But if you find that the Direwolf Alpha isn't working for you, things like Armani Berserker, Bloodsail Raider, or even the Plated Beetle could work out for you. Actually, is there even maybe the Vicious Scalehide, or another 2-drop that's going to go well with these Shadow Steps. But I've gone for the Direwolf Alpha to hopefully take advantage of these 1-drops. Also slotted some Eviscerates in here to help us control the board and give us a bit more reach. We don't have Leroy in here, so reach is something that we are going to be quite desperate for. And I put a 1-off Sap in here. I think this could even be maybe a second Spellbreaker or something, but Sap is a fantastic tempo card. It's almost it epitomizes tempo. And we just don't see it because everyone's running Kaliseth. We've got the Hench Clans, SI7s, 1 Tar Creeper in here. I wanted another taunt that comes down before Chain Gang. I think the 1 Tar Creeper could do alright, though this could also be Blink Fox, and in fact maybe we should be playing Blink Foxes because we've got the Shadow Steps in here. Minstrels, Chain Gangs, still got the 1 Spellbreaker, and at the end I've got 2 Scalebanes and 1 Fungalmancer. Just wanted to have a bit more of a chunkier late game in here. Alright, anyway, that's the deck. Sorry for my ramblings. Once again, I'm no Tempo Rogue expert, but I think that this deck could do pretty well, so we'll be back. Okay, here with some games. Against Hunter, so actually haven't seen a lot of Hunters around. Not too sure. I think we maybe keep this. At least we have 1, 2, 3 curve. And considering that kind of the only 2-drop we'd want to see is Direwolf Alpha. It's a pretty low percentage. I think this is fine. Oof. As always, apologies for the lag. It usually does clear up after a couple of games. if you are watching this on YouTube, I did actually post a video up with the with the construction of this deck. I usually don't. I usually pre-prepare everything. But I thought I'd actually make a deck on stream.
Here we go.
I think we're fine taking 3 for the privilege of growing our pig. It's slightly awkward for them to remove as well.
To my side. How long can this go on? How long can this go on? My pack will hunt you down.
It's a pretty dangerous card for us to have to deal with, but Fungal Mancer is pretty good. So I think we want to hit Fungal Mancer between these two. So this will be a 5/2 buffed to a 7x, and then we'll have a Taunt out as well for anything else. Trying to figure out what this Shadow Step is going to be good for though. Maybe the Fungal Mancer. Or the Elven Minstrel. Or if we dagger and attack these in, we get to keep our boy. Which I think is exactly what we want to do.
Mushroom pump!
Here we go.
Get some chain gangs out. I guess we should have played it over here in case our opponent has crushing walls.
Well fought.
Nice
I can see.
on the board. It's I guess a good example of exactly what we want to do in each game. Alright, back with another game against Priest.
Watch your back.
So, full mulligan here. Oof, and a rubbish hand. Yep. Gonna need a lot of help on this one to get in the game. Is there a better 2-drop? That is the question. Like, if we wanted more Shadow Step stuff, like...
Nice to meet you.
Here we go.
See how far out we get blown by. How far blown out we get by this Duskbreaker. This coin Duskbreaker. Ugh, I really don't want to play Chain Gang into a Duskbreaker.
Chill out.
Alright. If they do have Duskbreaker, it's really bad. If they don't, it's pretty good for us. What happens if we don't play it and then they do? Then we come back with like a Scalebane.
Choose soon. Here we go.
No. Did we get it right? We did.
Insects.
Now we're in a slightly better position.
Here we go.
This guy's toast.
Ah, maybe we should have cold-blooded there, actually. It's yeah, I think we should have cold-blooded. It might have forced a bigger reaction out of our opponent.
Mushroom power! Hey, lights out.
Here we go.
Yep. See what our opponent's gonna do about this.
Like to play with fire?
Pyro Divine him. Yeah. Every time we play, was it the last rogue deck that we played as well, where we got totally wrecked by Pyros?
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
If they have the second Duskbreaker still now, then props to them. Psychic Strike.
Here we go.
I guess alternatively we could have gone Chain Gang, Shadow Step, Chain Gang, Dagger Up. Maybe that would have been a bit better. Yeah, especially going into a turn where they could have Anduin. That definitely would have been better.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
They totally would have played Anduin last turn, right? If they had it. Watches like both of these kobolds drop swords onto onto two Chain Gangs, and they slam Anduin. Huh? 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 Interesting. So they're playing 2 Psychic Screams. Ah, the sap off the top too.
Here we
Ah,
go.
brutal. Brutal. I'm sure there are a super high chance to get that Psychic Scream too.
I bring life.
Alex with a power chip.
Here we go.
I don't know what we can really draw to help us get out of here. Yeah. Well, I think one of my weakest skills, especially with Rogue, is learning when to cold blood. Because maybe if we had cold blooded a turn earlier, we might have provoked a bigger reaction out of our opponent, which might have been better later in the game. Alright, Paladin. So,
Watch your back.
I don't know if we want Glacial Shard on the play as well. We'd much rather see Firefly. There's just too much potential. Our opponent full mulligans. Too much potential for us to get blown out if they're like even or something. They are not, so it is Murlocs. This is a reasonable start against Murlocs. Being on the play helps so much. I've done it. Question is, do we trade in? Or do we go face with the
So
Firefly?
many options. Choose soon.
Trade in.
Here we go.
At the very least, just because it makes
Reporting for duty.
the Repentant secret of the Resurrection one slightly less
Here we
frustrating to
go.
deal with. Maybe we should have just played all the Fireflies. Yeah, that might have actually been a better. I'm happy with that. Happy with that too.
Nice to meet you.
Here we go.
I think we'll hold this Flame Elemental to trigger these
Job done.
minstrels. So, not feeling great about the position. Just because this might not be Murloc Paladin. Might be some, like, I don't know, like mid-rangey Paladin in disguise.
For duty.
Because they're not doing much Murloc stuff. How are we doing? We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
Here we go.
Would you take the I think it's the one that reduces health to 1, so I'm gonna... Yeah, we're gonna play this over Minstrel.
Was a man with
As opposed to a Scalebane. Then, like... Scalebane's probably still good, but I just don't want to, like... get super wrecked by a Consecration. At least if they Consecration here, we follow up with Scalebane. Deckhand. We have a bunch more cards in hand from the Minstrel, so we might be able to curtail that into some better pressure. Yeah, so in the time that you were gone, Ruby, we played 2 games. We're 1-1, and we're looking alright in this one. The second game against Priest was actually a pretty interesting one. Definitely one that where if we could watch a replay of the game, know what was in our opponent's hand, would have been real good. So I think maybe we go Scalebane Coldblood.
Here we go.
So is this going to be like a quality Consecrate that they've been sandbagging? No, Juggler Cold Worms. Lucky for us. Sweet. I think that's another thing that I'm not good with is like in that game it wasn't a matter of that they were on a completely different deck to what I thought. Like we made the call turn 1, it's Murloc Paladin, and then we were actually ahead, which is why they weren't deploying threats very well. That we were either ahead or they had a bad hand. But as soon as that starts happening, I just start almost convincing myself that, oh, maybe they're on a different deck. Maybe they're trying to, you know, pull a fast one on us. So, yeah. So 2-1.
Valir versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
Yeah, I don't know if their turn 1, like, if their turn 1 coin secret hydrologist was that they had a bad hand, or if it's they didn't want to give up their premium 1-drops for half of our bad 1-drop and our dagger, half of our dagger as well. So, Spiteful, maybe. Do we dagger or do we dart Wolf Alpha?
So many
We'll
options.
dagger. Don't exactly want to expose this Direwolf Alpha to like maybe like a Druid of the Scythe next turn.
The scourge will devour all.
Yeah, this guy sucks. Can't kill it though. But
Here we go.
just get our Pig Boy train going. If it is Spiteful, they might struggle to kill this.
The rage.
No, they have Druid of
It
the Scythe.
claims me.
Now things prove difficult.
So many options.
Druid's tough. Real tough. And the bird. Spiteful, running the bird?
Folks, who goes there?
Here we go.
So this way we protect our thug slightly more. Spiteful. Flip and rip it.
The rage.
What?
It claims.
Yep. Getting dunked by these Druid of the Scythes.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
I don't know. I think our chance here is that they're not on Spiteful, that they're on some like aggro thing.
You are not welcome here.
Ooh, this rate's pretty good.
Here we go.
Ta-da!
Our other chances that they're on Spiteful and they just never draw Spiteful, and we can kill them in the next 2 turns before they cast Ultimate Infestation. Which, given we have a Scalebane on board, is pretty possible. Like, all it takes is for them to kind of misstep once. They're down to Druid to the side, so
Where shall I strike?
Claw on charge is good. Do they hit the Scalebane with the hero power? No. It's interesting though. We're getting the plays out of our opponent that may suggest that one or both of these cards are Ultimate Infestations. So what's our play here? We definitely want to get this Scalebane out, because it's going to provide us with the most damage over multiple turns. Like, this is kind of 8 power.
So many options.
5 power now, 3 power later, 3 power the turn after as well. Glacial Shard we can freeze and it'll give us more options. Or do we just go Chain Gang Minstrel? Let's go Scalebane.
I'm not welcome here. I should meet you. Last strike.
Here we go.
Job's done.
So do they have another Druid of the Claw? Maybe on taunt mode? Could have like a Primordial Drake? That would be pretty bad.
Magic shall not save.
Spellbreaker is not the worst. Chain Gang's pretty bad though. Alright. So, we're gonna eat an Ultimate Infestation next turn.
So many options.
Last chance. Last chance. Last chance.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Must choose soon.
Chill out.
Here we go.
Job done.
Alright. This is what we've got.
Engaging TC.
Mind control tech on the first one.
He loves you.
How long did they have that spiteful for? That's super frustrating though.
I wonder.
Ta-da!
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
toast.
Last chance.
Soon. Here we go.
It's close. Wait, did we have lethal on that last turn? We probably did, right? I totally missed it. I totally missed it.
Hey, lights out.
How long can this
Here we
How
go.
long can this go on? I should meet you.
Wait, I wanted to freeze that. Oh gosh. There's a lot of misplays happening right about now.
Engaging TC-130 into dislocator.
A lot of misplays happening.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Time waits for no one.
I should meet you.
No, it doesn't get us there, unfortunately. Damn.
I give
Did we have lethal that turn that we put them to 8? I'm super frustrated if we did. Alright. I'm gonna take a look at the Alright, we are back after 4 games. We went 2-2, which is pretty good for rank 7. Some parts of the deck worked out really well. I think the general curve of those 1-drops into the Hench Clan Thug worked out extremely well. Direwolf Alpha was so-so, but I think the Shadow Steps might have actually been a bit weak, or at least maybe the second Shadow Step. Like we didn't cast them at all, and also when they were in our hand, they were pretty bad. Like at no point did they ever really feel good. So maybe we could be cutting those for like some more 2-drop minions, like some Blood Cell Raiders or something like that. Though then again, we were daggering on 2 so much. Maybe we want another 1-drop, like the Argent Squire or something like that. So I think I might add that to the guide and just kind of say, look, you know, Shadow Step is in every single Tempo Rogue deck, but if you are playing a truly budget version, feel free to cut it for some more 2-drops or some more 1-drops or something like that. Other than that, I was happy with the Eviscerates and Saps. Happy with everything else. Yeah, it felt pretty good. So give this deck a go. Hopefully you do pretty well. Hopefully it helps you gain some ranks on ladder. And until the next budget deck video, I'll see you soon.